Hey, welcome to the Crush Method Show. My name is Amanda Kaufman.
And I'm Chris Lavelle.
And we are digging into another subject that's kind of close to what we talked about last week. Last week we were talking about psychology. This week we wanted to have a very specific conversation about mood.
Different from psychology.
Yeah, so psychology is the study of the thought patterns that drive behaviors. I want to talk to you specifically about your mood.
That's more the feelings you have at the end.
Mm-hmm. So, this has been such an important piece of building our practice and our lives together, really, is managing our moods, managing our emotions, and really taking a lot of ownership over that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, your thoughts certainly have an impact on your mood, but you're still responsible for your mood. It's not somebody else's fault that you're maybe in a bad mood or a good mood. It's a conscious decision and something you have to work on and take responsibility for.
Our son Alden, he's 6 right now, and he's been
he's all about the mood as a result.
He's been processing through that with all of his
like
brain
development. 2.5-year-old who's also very much in the mood.
But something will happen, and Alden will say, you're making me feel angry.
Yes. Why are you doing that? It's your fault I'm angry. That kind of thing.
Exactly, which is a convenient explanation, but it's not really what's going on.
Also kind of highlights for you that that's a very 6-year-old way to view the world.
Exactly.
We advocate for a more adult method.
Well, and truth be told, I used to be a victim of my mood a lot. I used to really think that it was my circumstances and my surroundings that were dictating how I was showing up and my presence in the world. Even, seasonal effectiveness disorder.
Oh, it's a yucky day outside.
It's a yucky day outside. So I have to be more diligent on days when it is gray and gross to have a positive mood. And it's a very conscious decision.
Well, you've got to do things to help foster that and encourage it, especially in times when maybe external factors that might influence it in some regard are a little challenging.
It's so important to performance, especially because if we allow our mood to dictate whether we're going to sit down and do the blog today
or go to the office or be nice to our spouse
or
pay that
bill or have that hard conversation that we need to have with a loved one or whatever it is that we know we need to do to have a better quality of life and a better circumstance. I think one of the biggest things that I see in the world these days is that we expect our mood to be dictated by our circumstances as opposed to choosing the mood that's going to serve us and be conscientious about it.
Well, yeah, and we're not saying that it's easy. We're not trying to say, oh, well, it's easy to do that. If it was easy, everybody would do it. We wouldn't see so many angry, upset people in the world. But there are things you can do to help put yourself in the best position to be able to manage your mood.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know you're very intentional about, I know that you're very intentional about your mood management, Chris. I mean,
to an extent.
Well, you are. I mean, there are moments that you have moments just like I have moments.
Oh, sure.
Anybody has moments, right?
I'm human.
We get triggered. We have our hot buttons.
Sure.
But I know that you are very intentional about your mood. So what is it that you do to cultivate that more positive mindset and mood?
We'll talk a little bit more in another episode on this more deeply, but one of the things I do most is try and take care of my physicality. And so a great example of that is I try and go to the gym regularly because that's something that for me has the biggest impact on how I physically feel, and that physical feel goes a long ways towards helping my mood.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. I think for me, one of the big things I do is I remind myself on a very regular basis what kind of presence I want to have with other people. Mm-hmm. And so I use that high performance planner that I talked about in a former episode. And one of the questions is, who needs me to be on my A game? And to me, having an A game, a lot of it has to do with how I interact and engage.
Well, it gives you a lot of clarity on what's needed for that.
Mm-hmm. And I often ask people, what did you love about this session? Or what did you love about this event? And they're often telling me, Amanda, I just love your energy. And honestly, I think it is the mood. It's that mood regulation of just deciding that I'm going to be in a positive kind of a mood of presence because that's what the situation calls for. And, there were a lot of years in my life where I didn't believe I had any kind of control over my mood, and I would just roll with the mood I was given. And unfortunately, that would
Not always a positive
not always
mood.
be positive.
And guys, we're not saying that in a terrible situation you have to put on a sunny disposition and act like it's not terrible. That's not what we're saying. There are times when, it's warranted to have a bad mood. But the thing to reflect on is, how is that mood going to serve you? Is it going to help you achieve what you need or want to achieve at that day or time or in life? And certainly choosing a mood that will serve you better in achieving your goals, well, that makes a lot more sense.
So I think of it a little more like you're trying to elongate and protract kind of that positive presence and that positive energy. Okay. I don't know if this is terribly scientific, but my personality, I'm an Aries. I like being in control, and I can respond with fire sometimes.
Go figure.
Right, Dave?
I don't know anything about that.
So it's not about diminishing or eliminating negative moods. It's more about working through those as quickly as possible, right?
Absolutely.
And
because sometimes they serve a purpose.
And not allowing things to spiral as much as possible.
Absolutely.
And every now and again, you're going to slip and you're going to have that spiral of bad day or a bad week. And, similar to when we were talking about psychology, I would say that if you find yourself in that negative mood spiral with a lot of frequency and a lot of duration or a lot of intensity, then that is an indicator to maybe consider seeking some professional support.
Might be a clue.
It could be that it would be a therapist or a mental health professional. You can always start with your general practitioner doctor. If you are having trouble really, avoiding those spirals, the depth, the frequency, or the intensity is so much for you with your mood. There's no shame in getting some support for that.
Absolutely not. We've both been there, and we'll probably be there again ourselves. So we certainly advocate for people seeking that help when you need it.
Mm-hmm. And I think the number one takeaway for today's episode is just check in on that mood that you've been carrying around for the last month or so. And,
if it's a negative one, if it's a good one, keep going.
Well, yeah, in both cases.
Well, that's true. Fair enough.
If you're doing great, then great. But what are you doing that is helping make it great? And if it's not been so great, which is often the case, well, you get to take responsibility for it now.
You get to decide what you're going to do next to encourage the mood you really do want.
Exactly. So, you might have to take a beat. You might have to reset.
Fair enough.
And just decide what mood you want to carry forward. And, you're going to have such a better life experience when you take that ownership and that responsibility for your mood, in addition to your thought patterns, like we talked about last week when we were discussing psychology.
Yep.
All right. So that's it for this week. I hope that this is helpful. Be a cool friend and share this with a friend of yours. Just subscribe and forward the link to wherever you happen to be watching this. And we'll see you again next time on The Crush Method Show.
All best, guys. Bye.
Bye. Hey there. Thanks for tuning into this week's The Crush Method video blog. I'm Amanda Kaufman.
And I'm Chris Lavelle. We loved having you here.
Be sure to subscribe to receive more goodies in your inbox every week, and share with others you know who are eager to learn more about building their coaching and expert business.
And don't forget to leave a comment below to share your own experiences to inspire and lift others on this journey.
And check out our podcast on iTunes called The Crush Method Show so we can join you on your commutes and workouts.